everyone. Today I will tell you a story. The story is titled, Pin's Big Discovery, The Hidden Corner of the House. Please like and subscribe to my channel if you appreciate me. You can skip this if you don't like this video. Thank you very much. The story begins as follows. Today's vlog starts with something wonderfully ordinary. A quiet morning, soft sunlight slipping through the window, and my dog Pin stretching like he's preparing for an important day ahead. Little did he know, or maybe he did, that today would become an adventure hidden right inside the house. Pin began his morning routine with his usual trot around the living room. But then, something unusual caught his attention, a tiny sliver of light peeking from behind the shelf near the hallway. His ears perked up instantly. His tail gave that signature, "I've detected something interesting" shake. And without hesitation, Pin slowly stepped toward it like a tiny detective who had just stumbled upon a mysterious clue. The shelf wasn't new, but the small gap behind it, that was definitely new to Pin. I could see his brain activating, tiny gears turning, curiosity rising. He sniffed, leaned closer, then looked back at me as if saying, "Are you seeing this? Because this is serious." With that, he squeezed his head into the gap, his back legs wiggling with excitement. The moment he realized there was actually space behind the shelf, his whole body followed. And just like that, Pin had discovered a hidden nook in the house, a place he had somehow never noticed in all his months of daily patrolling. I grabbed my camera because moments like these, pure, innocent, unplanned, are exactly why I love making little daily vlogs. Pin's adventure wasn't loud or dramatic. It was small, sweet, and full of that doggy charm that makes even the simplest discovery feel magical. Inside the nook, Pin sniffed the walls, checked the corners, and pawed gently at a forgotten fabric box covered with dust. He sneezed, shook his head dramatically, then wagged his tail again as if saying, "Yes, dusty, but fascinating." Watching him made me smile. The world is huge, but for Pin, even hidden corners of the house hold the possibility of wonder. As Pin ventured deeper into the newly discovered space, he made another surprising finding, a pile of small objects that had somehow slipped behind the shelf over the years. A pen cap, a tiny ball, an old sock, a random keychain. Basically, the long-lost belongings of a chaotic household. Pin's eyes widened the moment he saw them. To him, this wasn't trash, it was treasure. He grabbed the sock first, shook it proudly like he'd just found a priceless artifact. Then he dropped it, snatched the pen cap, tossed it into the air, and looked extremely satisfied with himself. Every discovery triggered a miniature celebration. His tail wagged so fast it might have generated wind energy. I laughed so hard I had to put the phone down for a moment. Pin didn't just see the lost items. He curated them, rearranged them, then carried each one out of the nook and placed it neatly in the living room like he was hosting a special exhibition called Artifacts of the Forgotten Era. He would bring one item, drop it, look up at me with sparkly eyes, "Look what I found," and then run back for the next piece. I didn't stop him. Honestly, I was curious to see what else he had in that tiny museum of his. Soon, the floor was covered with the lost collection. Pin stood in the middle of it, chest puffed out, looking extremely proud, like he had single-handedly saved the household from forgotten clutter. Then he sat down, panting lightly, his tongue out and his expression softening into his usual lovable face. I pet his head and said, "Good job, Pin." His ears flicked up, his tail tapped the floor, and I could tell he felt accomplished in every bone of his furry body. What amazed me wasn't the discovery itself, but how Pin turned something so small into something so joyful. To him, even old objects could become little treasures if they appeared unexpectedly. His ability to find happiness in such tiny things always warms my heart. Think the adventure was over? Nope. Pin had one more mission in mind. After checking every inch of the nook and clearing out the forgotten items, he suddenly laid down inside the space. He curled up comfortably, rested his chin on his paws, and sighed with happiness. It looked like he had officially claimed that spot as his new secret resting zone. The lighting inside the nook was soft, warm, and surprisingly cozy. Pin looked adorable tucked inside, his fur glowing softly in the filtered light. He blinked slowly, eyes half closed, enjoying the peacefulness of his new little hideout. I sat beside the shelf, watching him from the outside. For a moment, the house felt quieter, calmer. It's funny how dogs can make even the smallest spaces feel special just by being there. Pin closed his eyes fully, breathing gently, his tiny snores filling the silence. I couldn't stop smiling. A new corner discovered, a new resting place claimed, and a new memory quietly forming right before my eyes. After his nap, Pin stretched, shook his body, and stepped back out proudly, as if saying, "Mission accomplished. Corner secured." I gave him a hug, and he nuzzled into my chest, warm and content. Pin's little adventure today made me think about how often we overlook the small corners in our own lives, places, moments, or opportunities that are right there, yet unnoticed because we're always rushing or focusing on something bigger. Watching Pin discover that tiny nook reminded me that joy doesn't always come from grand plans or big achievements. Sometimes, it comes from slowing down and paying attention to what's right in front of us. In today's world, where everything moves quickly, we easily forget to explore new corners, new hobbies, new relationships, or even new ways of thinking. Pin approached the nook with curiosity, bravery, and no expectation, and maybe that's something we should try more often. Step into new spaces with an open heart instead of fear. Allow yourself to rediscover the joy in familiar environments. And don't underestimate the power of small wins, finding clarity, organizing a messy part of life, or simply taking a quiet moment for yourself. Most importantly, Pin reminded me that even small discoveries feel brighter when shared with someone you trust. Like how he looked at me with pride after each item he found. We too should celebrate our small victories and connect with people who make our journey feel meaningful.